lovely friends, Kesenya here with the Moon Tarot Talk for the last moon of 2020. What a journey has it been, wasn't it? And this moon is not an exception. I think it's going to be a really charged full moon. First of all, because all the full moons are about release, right? And this full moon in Cancer is actually happening on the 30th of December. So right before the calendar end of the year. So it is going to be emotional. It is going to be really about releasing 2020 and just looking back and seeing what we have achieved over this year. But yeah, let's start from the beginning and we explore everything related to this moon together. So I call this video Homecoming because this full moon is about homecoming in so many ways. Like, we start with the general information as always. Yeah, so it's happening on the 30th. I think in America it will be on the 29th of December actually, but it is around those days, 29th, 30th of December. And the full moon is happening in Cancer. And it is happening at 8 degrees of Cancer. So the sun is obviously at 8 degrees Capricorn. Mercury is at 14 degrees Capricorn. So you remember, I think a few previous lunations happened really in proximity to Mercury, and this one is no exception. So Mercury is now in the sign which is hosting the sun. And all those topics of communication, of speaking your own truth, of deciding for yourself what your truth is, of how you act, how you communicate your message, all those topics are ever present since, since I think Scorpio lunation or something like that. So for a good past few months, definitely for past weeks, Mercury has been also in the spotlight. And another thing which is happening is that this moon is sextiling Uranus and Lilith in Taurus, because Uranus is currently at 6 degrees Taurus. Taurus is also a fellow Earth sign, so same as Capricorn, in which the sun is. And so there is this harmonious sextile, but with Lilith, because Uranus is very close to Lilith at the moment, and we're going to see what this might mean for us. Why is it a homecoming? So why is it a homecoming? To begin with, we started 2020 with the full moon in Cancer already, and I think it was happening around the 10th of January, and it was a solar eclipse, because back in the day the eclipses were happening along Capricorn Cancer axis, because the nodes were in Capricorn and in Cancer. We started the year with the full moon in Cancer, and we're finishing the year with the full moon in Cancer. And this gives us, when we think of composition, of the musical composition, of the orchestration, it is actually a very popular device, literary device, or whatever, narrative device, whether it's about music or it is about words, that the ending is actually mirroring the beginning. So we are in this kind of full closure. What do I mean? It wouldn't be a big surprise, for people who know classical music, that the overture, so the beginning of the composition, would kind of, the counterpoint to it, the development of the themes, would be actually in the closure. They would be reprised, they would be again considered at the closure of the musical theme. And at the same time, if we speak of the hero journey, of the most popular and widespread narrative pattern, let's call it this way, it is about the hero leaving his home and at the end of the story returning home. And when we speak of the tarot deck as a hero journey, because major arcana, the 22 cards, they are a hero journey. Our card number 0 is the Fool. The Fool leaves his house to start the journey, and he's traveling across all the major arcana. He's traveling through Empress and Emperor, through Magician, and then through more challenging arcana like the Devil, the Tower, the Hanged Man, and then he travels through the astronomical arcana like the Star, the Sun, the Moon. And then he comes to card 21, the World, which is accomplishment, which means that he has shown himself to the world, he has learned the world, he has learned himself as a mirror of the world, his own macrocosm as the mirror, as the mirror of the macrocosm, of a bigger picture, And Our Fool is the card 22, the last card, and simultaneously the card 0. So this year for me, it actually is such a brilliant illustration of the journey of the hero as exemplified by the deck of tarot cards. Why is it a homecoming again? So we were home during this full moon in Cancer in January 10, 2020. And we started our journey. And God, was it a challenging journey? With the virus, with all the political upheavals all over the world, with personal losses, with a massive, massive tectonic shift in the life of humanity, in the life of the planet, in the vibrations which we can feel in how we advanced presumably towards the age of Aquarius. Even the December, it was a big, big peak, the kind of culmination of all the themes which were slowly unfolding during 2020. So all the happy gang of Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto, they finally have fallen apart. As we know, Saturn and Jupiter moved into Aquarius. There was a grand conjunction at the solstice. Nodes have moved around May, I think June, in the middle of the year. So we experienced this massive shift of the energy throughout 2020. And after all this, as if we were running around and achieving and climbing mountains and meeting people and falling out with people, now we are again home. It is this quiet moment before the new year. As far as I know, we in Ireland are in full lockdown. I know that some of my friends in other European countries are in lockdown as well. So it is again kind of this closure, and we are again home in silence, left with ourselves. It's you had your Christmas dinners and stuff, and there were people and there were presents and all these things, and then your family, your guests leave the house and you're alone with all those glasses from wine, those plates or those scraps of food around, and you just sit down and you look around and you're left with yourself. You're left with yourself. And Cancer is the sign of home, right? Cancer, who is it? It's a crab, it's sort of like crayfish. So he's symbolized by the sigil of a home. Home, is a big idea, because Cancer obviously is carrying his home on his shoulders all the time. And whenever he feels danger or he feels insecure, he goes inside, he hides inside. He goes inside. It's actually a super powerful symbol as well of this yogic technique of pratyahara, of withdrawal of senses, when a yogi, in order to just kind of put boundaries between your own spirit and the world, which is all about noise and things happening and distraction, he goes inside. And in Bhagavad Gita, the very famous, as you may know, epic tale of Hindu tradition, actually Lord Krishna says to the warrior Arjuna that in order to kind of cultivate this peace inside yourself, you should just go inside of your shell like a turtle does. And Cancer is very similar to turtle in the way that he also has this shell, right? Shell as a protective shell, the shell in which he hides and in which he's left alone. And that's a homecoming as well, because we are now literally, energetically, all of us are in the sign of a home. And another homecoming is that Moon is coming home, right? Because Moon is ruling Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the Moon. Moon in Cancer is home. And this Moon in Cancer, which is home, she's sextiling Uranus and Lilith. Okay, what is Uranus? Uranus is the lightning. In tarot, the card of Uranus is the Tower, the dreaded card. But because there is a lightning coming in the Tower, and Tower falls apart. And it is about sudden change. 10 of, I think, as far as I remember, 10 of Swords, also a very challenging card. I think its astrological significance is is Uranus in Gemini. I think, yeah, Uranus in Gemini, something like this. So this kind of electrified air, which just goes into your lungs and you're kind of like, whew. So it is about this electrifying change, sudden change, revolutionary change. It is about stimulation, about something new which comes into your life and stimulates you and kind of makes something totally new in yourself awaken. And it is about creative self-expression. It is about artistic self-expression, especially when the moon is involved in this. And sextile is a harmonious aspect, yeah? So this electrifying, revolutionary, liberating energy of freedom implied in Uranus. It actually stimulates the moon. It stimulates, and moon is what? Moon is our emotions. Moon is our artistic expression. So it stimulates it. And we might feel a little bit uncomfortable, I suppose, lots of people, because Cancer is sensitive. Cancer about, like, staying inside your shell and being in this deep state of self-awareness. And then the Uranus comes, and the Uranus is just about shaking everything, like, and just, it's like you sitting alone after this Christmas dinner amidst all those cups and plates. And then one friend comes and he's like, oh, I'm coming out from the party, and this friend is like, this messy friend who is like, you're tired, you want to be alone. And this friend is like, boom, 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 like, So that's something like this. So I suppose it might be a clash of energies between a deeply meditative moon in Cancer and full moon. So our emotions are at their highest, and this Uranus. But maybe they would actually clash in a fantastic way, because the emotions are heightened. Here is Uranus with the stimulating energy, and it's kind of like, it's like waterfall. And another interesting thing which I wanted to talk about, and also in relation to tarot, because it mirrors everything so beautifully, is that Lilith is also sextiling the moon. And Lilith in Taurus next to Uranus is kind of like, I think that it is pretty much in conjunction. So this revolution that Uranus brings is amplified by Lilith. And what is Lilith? Lilith is dark moon. In case you're not aware, okay, I'll say a couple of words. I'm sure pretty much if you're listening to this video, you know who Lilith is and was, but just in case. So in mystic Judaic tradition, because in the book of Genesis, it is not really clear. It is mentioned that on a certain day, I'm sorry for being so ignorant, I don't remember which day it was. Maybe it was the 6th day, I don't remember. It is said, God created a human, comma, he created a man and a woman, full stop. Because you know that the Genesis starts with this kind of synopsis of the creation. So on the first day, God separated light from darkness. He created this, he created that. And then it's mentioned in passing that he created a human, a man and a woman. And then, it's kind of a more detailed explanation over the book of Genesis, with the detailed explanation how he created Adam from dust, from kind of clay or whatever it is. And then how he created Eve from his rib. And in mystic Judaic tradition, these kind of, how to say, this contradictory information, let's put it this way, gave rise to the belief that at a certain point at the very beginning, he created 2 equal partners, a man and a woman. Then something happened to this woman, and he created a subordinate woman from the rib of a man. As a person, trained in old literary cultures and manuscripts, it is just a normal discrepancy. It is normal for any manuscript, for anything created by people and written down by people. And even if it is divine revelation, it is still created by people and written down by people who have tendency to be mistaken. And I'm sure this is just a discrepancy between bits and pieces from which the original manuscript was compiled, and not to say that there are thousands of manuscripts containing Genesis, and the Torah and the Bible and so on. But mystic tradition takes the scripture as an absolute intact divine message. And so each single element of this message is scrupulously considered, analyzed, and discussed. And obviously there is a discrepancy, that first he created a man and a woman, and then there is a second account how he created a woman from the rib of a man. And so mystic Judaic tradition gave rise to this idea that first he had a first wife, Lilith, who was created in the same way as Adam, so she was his total equal. And then Lilith rebelled for whatever reasons. She didn't like the way it was working, and she left Adam. And that's when Eve was created. And I think whatever it is, I love the story. It's a beautiful story because there is this, when we speak of archetypes, man usually has one archetype. Man is man. That's it. Man is young, man is this active solar energy, all those things. It's all clear. With the females, we have two archetypes. In case you're interested, in medieval culture, those archetypes were taken respectively by Mary, Virgin Mary, and Mary Magdalene. Because women, potentially, they have two ways of development. One is a more classical one. So you become, especially more traditional societies, in which we all were up to recent times, and in which we still pretty much all are, at least the biggest part of the world. Because when you look at Europe and America, who are like, a bit more feministic than the rest of the world, that's a really tiny particle on the map. It is about when the woman is born to be as subordinate to a man, she is destined to become a mother and wife. And so, which is nothing bad. I don't want you to sound that it is some old-fashioned, outdated archetype. No, that's just an archetype. Still, many women find happiness in following this path. It's extremely important for majority of women to experience motherhood and do all those things. It is an archetype which is kind of like symbolized by Eve and later on by Virgin Mary, And then there is a different archetype of a woman who is more independent, who is more self-sustained, who doesn't necessarily need to kind of follow the traditional role in society. And this is going to be provided by Lilith and then by Mary Magdalene, who is considered as a sinner who repented, but nonetheless kind of like the good girl with the dark past, if I can say this. So, and it was easy and it was helpful. And I mean, obviously in Christianity, Mary Magdalene is also an extremely positive archetype and image, let's put it this way, while Lilith is extremely negative. Because the Judaic folklore, it develops that Lilith is associated with nocturnal birds, like owls and other birds. She's associated with bats, with those bats that drink blood, which kind of drink blood of cattle. She is associated with death of infants, with all those dark things which happen under the cover of the night. So she's pretty much demonized, and Lilith in lots of branches of Judaic folklore and mysticism, she's associated with the demonic host. She can be a wife of Azrael, the angel of death, and she can be also related to, yeah, you understood. You got my idea. Yeah, so it is all things dark, mystic, and so on. Or if you're listening to this video, most likely you don't take those ideas as negative. As I suppose we all can agree here, there is literally no such things in good and bad. We can't say that light is good and darkness is bad. Darkness is good as well. They're both absolutely equal elements, which actually provide the existence of each other, because without darkness there is no light. Yeah, we wouldn't distinguish it as light if there was only light. And so we have those two women conversing during this Cancerian full moon on the December 30th. We have the moon in her realm in Cancer, in her house, conversing with Lilith, with the dark moon in Taurus. Astrologists, as far as I know, take Lilith very differently. They take her as either as a very challenging aspect, or as this liberated, wild feminine, a darker manifestation of the feminine, like dark mother, like Kali in Hinduism, And what I wanted to talk about in relation to tarot, in that in tarot we have two very powerful female archetypes, which are roughly along the same lines. And those archetypes are the Empress and the High Priestess. I will show you from a few decks. I will show you from Blanconeri Tarot, and then I will show you from Marielle Tarot. So the Empress, that's a very classical representations of the Empress, I hope you can see. The Empress is a mother. In this deck, she has a very, like, you know, distinctive bosom, which is the symbol of fertility, of nurturing, of nourishing babies. In this one, she literally has a baby in her sling, sleeping on her back, you know. She also has her apron, which is symbolically the area of the womb, full of apples, you know. So again, full of fertility, full of harvest. Here again, she has here the sign, the pendant with the sign of Venus, because astrologically Empress is Venus. So Empress is this nurturing mother. She is the archetype of the Eve. She is limitlessly giving, nurturing, providing. She's this mother full of unconditional love, full of nurture, full of literal nurture, like milk, you know, and at the same time spiritual nurture, because it is all about love. The energy of the Empress card, it is like a cashmere blanket which kind of like covers you and wraps you and gives you this, like, you know, warm hug. It is a woman who is all about giving, taking care of the others. She is also an empress, so she takes care of her realm, of her kingdom, of her subjects. And this is so fitting to what's happening to the moon during this full moon, because the moon is in Cancer, the moon is home, she's in her realm, the moon is sitting on the throne, you know. And I mean, I'm bending the tarot astrological significance a bit, because as I said, in a classical system, the moon is the empress is Venus, and the moon is High Priestess, which we're going to talk about in 1 second. But the energy of this conversation between the moon in Cancer and the dark moon Lilith in Taurus is very similar to the way how how the Empress would meet High Priestess. Because the Empress, yeah, as I said, just to repeat, yeah, she's Venus. She's this love. But Venus is not only love. Venus is ruling Taurus, yeah? So she is about tangible things. She is about sexuality, reproduction, food, money, all those things, material abundance, fertility of crops, and so on. And then there is High Priestess. And High Priestess, okay, in tarot, High Priestess symbolizes the moon, the planet moon. But only for today, I would say that when we play with those archetypes, of course, High Priestess as such, along the lines that I just discussed for the past like 20 minutes, she represents the Lilith. She's the dark moon. She's the second archetype of a female, because the energy we're getting from High Priestess is extremely cold. You see, I absolutely love this deck, for this card from the Marielle deck tarot, because we can't even see her face. She is so independent. She's so withdrawn. She's looking inside. She's interested in herself. She's interested in her self-development. She's interested in the mysteries of the world. She's not interested in all those things mundane, money, all those like sexual things, all those like, you know, reproducing, breeding, rebirth, and all those things in which we're bound in this material manifestation on earth. She's totally in the other world. She's detached from this world. She has a very cold energy of someone who's interested in what's happening beyond the curtain of this material realm. She's extremely not manifested by a physical body. She's pure spirit, like, you know. And she's about not passing, let's say, her genes to the babies. She's about passing knowledge to her disciples. Yeah, she's a high priestess. She obviously has a disciples. She also actually has pomegranates always on this card, and pomegranates, they're the symbol of fertility. They're the symbol of, like, you know, there are so many grains as there are stars in the sky, as there are, like, you know, people on the planet. She's the symbol of fertility. So she's not infertile, but by her choice, she transforms this energy of creativity, this energy of, yeah, of being able to reproduce, of her own fertility. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. She transforms this into creating something else, into creating herself, into mothering herself, into creating the passages of knowledge and of stories that she would pass down to the future generations. And she is using her creative energy to support the fire within her. I think that absolutely, if you ask me, everything that I'm telling is obviously my personal interpretation. That's how I feel those archetypes. If you ask me, yes, by all means, I think that the High Priestess is a much more selfish archetype, because it is about saving yourself, developing yourself, using the creative energy to express yourself, and not necessarily using the creative energy to create a baby, yeah? But on the other hand, as they say, save yourself and you will save thousands around you. It was one of the Russian Orthodox priests who said that. That's my very clumsy translation, but yeah, literally he said that. He said, kind of, control your spirit, and through this thousands would be saved. Because definitely, and it is an extremely deep thought, because by cultivating this fire within ourselves, by working with our own spirit, we raise our vibration. So we raise collective vibrations, and we are also kind of nicer and more considered human beings. So we help to create the better world, you know. So High Priestess, she's selfish only in partial way, like, you know. But those two ladies, the High Priestess and the Empress, which I would call in for this particular discussion as Lilith and Eve, and in this way it is our Lilith, and it is our moon in Cancer, which is Cancer very much mothering sign. Yeah, Cancer is a mother, Cancer is home. You know, people are laughing that in this popular astrology Cancer is all about sitting at home baking pies and so on. My mother is Cancer, actually. She's a super controlled. She was extremely kind of controlling mother, like, you know, she was this kind of panther mother who is super controlling. But on the other hand, yeah, she's related to home. She's about baking pies, feeding me, like, you know, her child, and so on. So very much Cancers are good mothers, and they are about, like, you know, sacrificing themselves for their cubs and all those things. And Lilith, that's a totally different story. Yeah, for Lilith, like, herself and her divine feminine is first. So this moon, I feel that our topic number one would be to think along those lines. The questions, and if you're a man, don't get upset. We all have divine feminine, divine masculine. And it doesn't mean, I personally think that I have much more masculine features in myself. And I think my divine feminine is buried somewhere. So if you're a man, maybe it's the opposite. So look, yeah, it's universal talk. The talk is aimed at everyone. So this is something for us to think about along those lines, along those archetypes, like along the conversation between Lilith as this more wild, more selfish, darker element in ourselves, like, and ask ourselves those questions, like, was I sometimes too self-sacrificing to others? Was I sometimes taking too much care of the others, be it your kids, your colleagues at work, your friends, like, you know, was I too much in the Empress mode, putting my subordinates, my friends, my subjects. But please don't take it wrong. I mean, like, I'm talking from the point of view of the Empress archetypes. Yeah, I don't want to say that we are all like lunatics thinking that our friends are our subjects. Yeah, but I mean, taking care of your environment, taking care of the realm around you, taking care of your house, being like, in the kitchen days and nights to cook for your family, like, nutritious, wonderful meals. Or the opposite, was I too selfish? Would I say like, no, like, I'm gonna dedicate all my free time for myself, for my self-development, for like, were you like, again, speaking of Lilith, we should consider this aggressive, like, not self-controlled, basically this dark feminine, whatever it is for you, like, was I this dark feminine Kali energy, which is all about death and destruction, which is like, about ending things. And at the same time, was I not? Because it is super, super important to end things as well. And like, if we speak of Kali as the Dark Mother, she destroys the world for the new world to be reborn. And that's where we find ourselves now. At the end of 2020, we need to release. We need this Lilith energy to release, to basically, like, be harsh, be wild, be sometimes angry with the things that no longer serve us, to basically stop them, to clear the path for 2021 to come, for the age of Aquarius to come, to shift, to basically perform this shift. So, yeah, I hope you understand what I mean. We need to have those two principles in balance. And I think this moon is an excellent, excellent point in time to think about it. In which parts of my life do I need to be Lilith? To basically rebel against Adam and say, oh, I am on the different side now. I'm on my own. Bye. And in which way we need to be more like Empress Eve approach, more like Venusian approach, more like Moon and Cancer approach, unconditional love, and being patient and being adaptable and acceptive, like, because whenever we talk about, we are both archetypes we're discussing are feminine archetypes. So this is yin energy, this is the energy of passivity, of acceptance, of flow, of this water, which is kind of like, softening the stones, the rocks, softening the edges. So it is through accepting, through the flow, through all those considerations, that we get to basically clearing the things that no longer serve us and advancing into 2021. And oh God, was 2020 the year to be released? Absolutely. Absolutely. 2020. Absolutely. We got so much negativity and grudge on a collective level, first and foremost, collective frustration, lack of physical and emotional connection with our friends, with our families, total isolation, and probably we're again in this Cancerian isolation again, but use it in this way how, like, the moon would use it, the moon as the high priestess archetype. Yes, so through meditation, through contemplation, through thinking that no longer serves you, the massive release and the homecoming and the circle, like the Ouroboros, which is biting its own tail, so we started from the full moon and we're coming back to the full moon in Cancer. I think that's beautiful. It couldn't be more beautiful than this. And again, like, speaking of what Cancer is in tarot, Cancer in tarot is Chariot. Yeah, so Cancer in tarot is Chariot. That's your card for the Chariot. Yeah. And I think I spoke about this card over my past videos so extensively, because I love this card, because it's just a paradox of tarot. When you think of it, you're like, oh, Cancer is about staying home, taking care of kids, and baking pies. Why is it a Chariot? It's a warrior, for God's sake, like, with horses. He's going into battle, what's going on? But like, this card is extremely Cancerian in its nature, because like there are two parts of your soul, actually speaking of dualism, yeah, the light and the darkness, the white moon and the dark moon, Lilith, Eve and Lilith, the kind of like, you know, the wife of Adam, two wives of Adam, two feminine archetypes, like, you know. And this is an extremely powerful Cancerian message, because this one is about taking control of your soul, and that you can advance only after you have taken control of this. And this man, he has a wand. Wand, it mirrors our suit of wands, the fire suit. And it is speaking up to the sky. In Rider-Waite tarot, which I unfortunately don't have, it's even better, it's shown even better, because there is, in the chariot, there is also a roof. And this roof is blue with the stars. And again, there is this staff pointing to it. So the symbolism of this card is that you can advance only after you have tamed both horses of your soul, your dark instincts and your light part of the soul. And also through the blessing and through the connection to the divine. So that you have like an antenna pointing up and connected to the spiritual realm, to this blue sky with the stars, like, you know. And actually, blue star, if you are like, you know a little bit about Catholic tradition, you know that in Catholic tradition, Mary is wearing the blue overcoat, and she has a crown made of 12 stars, which symbolize 12 apostles, you know. And this is the protective cloak that Mother Mary put on all the faithful, you know. And the symbolism of the chariot in Rider-Waite tarot, which I unfortunately don't have. I actually probably should buy it, because it's such a great deck, and we need to come back to it because it's kind of the original tarot deck. And this is the idea. Yes, chariot is about advancement, it is about commotion, it's about moving forward, but you move forward only when you have this background, when you have this, when someone has your back, when your mother has your back, and when you have this as if a protective cover above your head, which makes you warm, keeps you warm, which protects you, which assures you that nothing bad would ever happen to you, that the road is safe and you can advance. And that's why the chariot is so deeply Cancerian, paradoxically Cancerian. Because when we think deeper of it, it is always about moving forward through the blessing of the higher realms, through the blessing of the spirit, you know. It is moving forward in compliance with what your soul desires. And by this, chariot is extremely contemplative and meditative and deeply Cancerian and deeply spiritual. So before we start the reading, and I'm really sorry, but I will do the collective reading this time. First of all, because, like, you know, there's a busy days, and it's the end of the year, and I don't know, I don't think I have actually time to do sign by sign reading. But the more I was thinking of it, I thought, okay, this is like the massive closure. That's our collective homecoming after we started our journey in January 10, and then we did the full circle, and on December 30th of the same year, we are again at the same point, full moon in Cancer, you know. And we went through, like in any good fairy tale, through the other world, through rescuing the princess, through obtaining magic helpers, through talking to animals, through helping others, through being in mortal dangers, you know. We had it all. We had tower moments, and we had lots of things. So it is time to sit down and think. And I thought that we are made this journey as a collective. So let's do a collective reading this time. And before we start this collective reading, I want to, as always, give a small crystal meditation, a small crystal set for us to tap into the new moon. And as always, at the end of the video, we'll do the close-up of crystals. So in case you would like to look at them, just, I don't know, make a print screen with your phone or whatever you're watching it on. And I don't know, you can have you can partake of the energy of those crystals wherever you are in the world, you know, let's put it this way. So the crystals that I picked up are all, of course, really watery and really calming and serene. Let's begin with the ocean jasper. And I want you to show the stone, and I hope my phone will focus so that you can see. I'll do this, I suppose. Yeah. As you can see, I picked up this stone because it has like an ocean, and in the middle of it, it has like an island. So every time I start longing for the home, which I don't have, and I personally, for me, home, it is such a big concept because I don't really feel like home anywhere. So I'm in this constant search of my home. And this little crystal, it symbolizes for me home, this kind of like island in the middle of the sea, you know. So the question with this stone is, what is my home like, you know? I mean, like, this lockdown over this year, I suppose it prompted many of us to reconsider what home is for us, what household is for us. Are we comfortable with people we live with? Are we comfortable in our home? Are we comfortable inside of our body, which is home of our soul, you know? And I really want to show you the second piece of ocean jasper, like this one. You see, it's actually super pretty because ocean jasper, oops, there's a fluff, naturally has this those kind of like structure that when you cut it, it looks like there are like flowers. And I think this is a nod towards like Capricorn as well, because the axis that we have is water earth, and here's like the ocean jasper, very watery concealing stone with those daisies, which are like, you know, which are about earth and the flowers of earth and the Capricorn energy as well. So the first question with this crystal, I will repeat myself, is, yeah, what is a home for you, and are you comfortable in your home, and what would be the home in which you would be comfortable, and what are probably tiny details we can symbolically do to our home to make it feel more homey, you know, more comfy and more cozy, you know. Maybe it's a beautiful scented candle, maybe it is like, you know, changing bits and pieces in your room, maybe it's buying, I don't know, a pillow spray with lovely smell or something, like, you know, tiny symbolic details we can do for ourselves, for our well-being in our houses during this moon. The second very important stone that I picked up is chrysocolla. Chrysocolla is a stone of divine feminine. Chrysocolla is about connecting to your divine feminine and tapping into the energy of the goddess, right? If I take it as an archetype, regardless if you believe in the kind of, you know, divine mother and so on, you feel what I'm talking about, like as an idea, yeah? So it is into tapping into this energy. And this is extremely important in relation to our conversation about Eve and Lilith, or like the moon and the dark moon Lilith, astrologically, because it is about balancing the two feminine archetypes within ourselves. And the good news for us is that during this moon, as I said, Lilith is sextiling the moon. And it is a positive, harmonious aspect. So ask yourself how those two parts are balanced within yourself, are conversing within yourself. If you are more in the child-free, independent Lilith archetype, how can you express your Eve archetype, like, you know, your archetype of a mother? Is it through mothering yourself? Is it through mothering the others? Is it through getting a pet dog this year, like, you know, or chipping a few coins, like, you know, to, like, you know, charity organizations, something like this, like, you know? Think of how you can harmonize those two feminine aspects. And that's what chrysocolla is about, yeah, because it is about tapping into divine feminine. Another one is actually howlite. I have a tiny colored howlite. Howlite is a white stone. It is very often colored blue to resemble turquoise. So like the blue colored howlite, it's actually like a fake turquoise, but this one is a howlite, yeah. I couldn't find the white one. It is a stone of patience, of serenity, of acceptance, of all the things we were talking about. It is a deeply calming stone which people who have problems with insomnia, it is believed that you need to put it under your pillow or next to you on your table so that it would calm you down and it will allow you to have a more peaceful sleep. And I think this full moon can be extremely emotional because of all those things, because of Uranus. At the same time, extremely liberating as well, and extremely revolutionizing, and to help you to kind of go through this crisis. That's the stone that you might need, I suppose. And another one is, of course, the kyanite. Kyanite has a blue color. You probably have noted that all the colors, all the stones, they're kind of bluish. Blue is the color of throat chakra, and it brings us back to Mercury. I was talking about Mercury at 14 degrees of Capricorn during this moon. Mercury, it is about speaking our truth, but kyanite, it is one of the most highly vibrational crystals. It doesn't need cleansing. It cleanses itself, and it is believed that it aligns the well-being of your body. It aligns the energy. It allows the energy move freely inside your body. So think of kyanite as a breath of fresh air when, like, you know, the air is stale in the room and then you open the windows and the fresh breeze is coming and it's like, whew, and all this kind of like settled air and dust in the air, it's all moved out. That's what kyanite is about. It is very airy. So that's our homage to Mercury involved partially, yeah, because like it's like 7 degrees away from the moon and the sun, but still, like, you know, it is there, and it is for us like a detox. After this 2020, when we release, it is like a detox and it all goes away. So we need to realign ourselves, and that's what kyanite is about. And the last but not least is a Labradorite. The beautiful Labradorite, which is like a gray stone, but then when we pick it and when the light is playing on it, we can see all those, I hope you can see all those magical sparks, all this like aurora borealis in a stone. Hope you can see how it is like beautifully playing and catching light, like, you know, because of its properties. Labradorite is a stone of magic, obviously, yeah, because from the very ordinary looking gray stone, then there is this magical light coming, like, you know. And it is a stone of magic. It is the stone of the divine. It is the stone of shamanic journey. And that's what I wish for you for this full moon in Cancer. And I wanted to do actually a small thing for all of us. So because the new year is in one day after the moon, let's do a new year wish together. So I have this thing, whatever it is, and I'm going to light it now. And look, what do I wish you for? What do I wish you for 2021? May 2021 be not worse than this year, right? We still need to be careful with what we wish for. If possible, may it be better. May it be better. May it actually help us to improve our lives, to know ourselves better, to learn what we need better, to know how to express ourselves, to know how to pick the balance, to kind of like be in the balance between loving ourselves and loving others, having time for stupid, simple things, having time for stargazing, having time to read a book, having time to hang out with friends, like, you know, all the things Cancerian. I wish we could take them to 2021, and I hope it would be a beautiful year for all of us. And so look, let's do this way. Let's all make a wish while this thing is burning. Okay, let's all make a wish while it is still going. I hope you happen to I hope you have made a wish. And the wish that I made, basically, look at it, one of the wishes, because it was burning for quite a while, so I had time to make a few wishes. So for all of us is to be ignited, to be full of energy and full of fire and full of passion, and to just embrace the adventure with, like, you know, with open arms and with excitement inside, to embrace the fact that we are on an adventure. And if you didn't think of any appropriate wish while this thing was burning, luckily it is a video for you, not for me. So you can just, rewind it back and watch it again and make as many wishes for the time that this thing is burning as you can. And yeah, in the meantime, we're slowly moving towards the video, towards the reading. The reading, so the hailstorm just started, the hailstone, so I'm just looking through my window and I'm like, whoa, okay. Okay, yeah, it's like, it's hellish now. But look, yeah, we go with the flow. We go with the reading. I picked up 6 cards. It's enough, believe me, guys. It's a powerful message for all of us. So the reading is most likely hanging somewhere there. But I'll show you the cards, what we got. We got the Page of Swords, the Strength, the Fool, right below Page of Discs, Page of Pentacles, 8 of Cups, and 3 of Wands. And that's our general message for the full moon in Cancer, which is wrapping up the energies of 2020. A few preliminary remarks. Look how many new beginning cards we got, and at the same time how many release cards we got. This couldn't be any simpler than that. Pages start the court cards and tarot. Pages are usually children. Pages are very youthful energies. Pages are about new beginning and about everything you might think of when you think of a toddler, let's put it this way, or of a young student, or about anything when you start the new path of your life, like, you know, when you are transitioning from being a baby to being a toddler, or from being a teenager to being, like, you know, an adult, and so on. It is this excitement with learning something new, with starting something new. It is a little bit of discomfort because you don't know yet how to how to dive in those waters, but not to dive, what to do in waters, you got my point. Yeah, how to basically explore the path, like, you know, you don't have skills yet, but you have excitement and you have a desire to go there, like, you know, and to explore. We got a Fool. What was I talking about? I don't know how it's all working this way, but yeah, we got a Fool. So the beginning, the re-beginning, the restart of the hero's journey, the end of the cycle and the start of the cycle, and then the first 3 of Wands, the first growth, the first kind of new, first leaves appearing, like, you know, when you plant a seed, and then the first little sprout, kind of shoot appearing, the green one, like, you know. So that's what we are in. But let's look card by card. So the first one that we got is the Page of Swords. Page of Swords in this particular reading for me speak of Uranus. Page of Swords is related to the suit of air, swords, yeah, the suit of like mental activity, intellect. But this card as such, it is so Uranian because it is about liberation. The body of a woman in this card is naked, so it is about freedom, liberation, and she's kind of like floating in the air, you know. So, and she also has a dragon, and dragon is water, represents water element in Asian cultures and represents fire element in Western mythology. So it is this lightning of the tower, the Uranus, which has pierced your body and left on your body the imprint of this energy. This is what we begin with. This year 2020, it was like exactly this lightning, which have stricken you into the core, has shaken the whole foundation of our lives, and has left an imprint on us. After this year, we will not be the same. Our societies will no longer be the same. The way I hope we value human relationship are no longer the same. And this one, swords, speaking of mental activities, the way we think about things is no longer the same. So it is basically of starting page, youthful energy, new beginnings, of starting a new phase of your life, at the same time having an imprint of your past and being fine with it and accept it. Accept that your body is like this now. Your psychic is like this now. Your soul is like this now. It started snowing. Wow. What a powerful moment to record this video. And she's floating in the air. She's so liberated. She's totally new. She's reborn. But she is reborn and she's naked as a just born baby, with carrying the experiences and the skills of what we had in 2020. So that's our first card. And then the second card is strength. Actually, all those cards, they read as this beautiful narrative. So I will just be telling you a tale, yeah? And then this beautiful girl with this dragon tattoo, as in the book, you know, floating in the air, seeing everything, like, you know, all the world at her feet. She will definitely need some strength to go through this. Because with all the excitement and Uranian stimulation and this energy of revolutionary renovation, we still need to be grounded, and we still need to let those processes inside of us keep going, yeah? And the strength card, it is a card of Leo, and it is a card of taming your animal instincts with unconditional love. Here you can see the way the card is made is that because there are like legs here. So I suppose the woman who is usually kind of hugging the Leo, in this card, she's riding the Leo. So she's having all this creative potential, all this aggressive potential tamed because she's on top of it. And this is very much like, please go listen to the intro. I believe that maybe for this reading, intro is actually even more significant than this reading. And it helped actually to understand the topics we have in this reading. What I was talking about, the Lilith and the dark moon, yeah? It is about balancing the light and darkness within yourself and this kind of like wild, independent female energy with nurturing Empress-like, Eve-like, motherly, divine, feminine. And this is what this card for me is about. So through strength, she's holding the prayer, through mental activity, through spiritual activity, what Cancer is about, through withdrawal of senses, through staying home, through contemplating, meditating, having deep inner dialogue with yourself, praying, yeah? So, and also the rosary, if you know what it is. Rosary beads, they have like parallels in all culture, yeah? In Catholicism, those are rosary beads, but like in Buddhism, there are mala beads, yeah? And the beads, those are also like parts of the journey. And the beads have a circular form. So when we go, we pray on each bead, and then when we go to bead number 1, we start anew. So this is our hero journey. And when we think of the moon as a circular planet, moon is also like a bead in the sky. She's like a bead of a rosary, of mala rosary, or whatever rosary you might think of, like, you know. So we were counting over this year the moons as if praying on the beads. And we got from the full moon in Cancer in January 2020 to the full moon in Cancer in December 2020. And we did the full circle of those rosary, and we learned a lot and we developed a lot. And we keep praying on those circular rosary beads to tame the dark Lilith within. Or basically not to tame is a really poor choice of word. Basically to harmonize the different aspects of our personality. Because the woman in the Strength card, she is really about representing motherly figure and taming a wild beast through unconditional love. And that's what she's about. So like, you know, in this case, Leo represents for me the Lilith we were talking about at the beginning of this reading. And this woman who is sitting on it and praying those beads, she is symbolizing for me this light creature, this, like, you know, this woman full of light, full of love, full of, like, you know, deep spiritual sense. And so you learn how to harmonize those two, like, you know, your wild, more, like, you know, more aggressive, more selfish, more arrogant part with the more spiritually evolved part. And that's what it is about, like, you know, and that's how we are advised to start our journey. We start our journey within. And then the Fool. I'm amazed how the cards came, to be honest. I didn't expect anything close to this, but this is just so spot on. The Fool, well, yeah, the journey's hero. We started with the Fool, and we end with the Fool, the closures and the new beginnings. And again, the Fool is very symptomatically naked as well. So in this way, he mirrors this Page of Swords, like, you know. And Fool is actually here, the way he's portrayed, he has, like, you know, those sandals which are colored the same way how the butterflies are colored. And then there are those two snakes. So he reminds us of Hermes. He reminds us of Hermes with his caduceus, with his winged sandals in which he's flying between the worlds. So he again reminds us of Mercury and all things Mercurian, you know. And this, again, when we look at this card, can't we feel just the breeze, the fresh breeze, the fresh air, like, you know, the gust of wind, like, you know, fresh wind coming through the open window. So we start something anew. We are powerfully shaken by this Uranus, who is like one of the main characters during this staged play of the full moon in Cancer. We start something totally new after we have cleared the past. We release 2020 and simultaneously we conceive the new way of things and doing things for 2021. So absolutely beautiful message, new beginning. Butterflies are a symbol of rebirth, of a reborn soul, yeah? Again, butterfly is shedding the cocoon and she is transformed. She's no longer the caterpillar, she's now a butterfly, she's a winged creature, she's a much more mobile, active creature which can experience different environments, which can fly, which can see different things. Like, you know, she's not stuck as this fat passive caterpillar on one plant for all her life. She is, like, you know, she's the embodiment of the movement of the force of life itself, like, you know. So this is so powerfully about the rebirth. And then the second draw of this 6-card reading, straight under the Page of Swords, we get the Page of Discs. So it is again about new beginning. So we got Page of Swords about new beginning, we got the Fool, which is the ultimate new beginning, and then we got the Page of Discs, the Page of Pentacles, like, you know. And the Page of Pentacles is how I always speak of this card. It is about really taking your time before you start going. And the moon, the full moon in Cancer, is essentially a passive moon. It's not about doing any actions. It's about sitting down and releasing. And there is a Zen proverb that sometimes simply by sitting, the soul collects wisdom. So this is what this full moon is about. There is this toddler. Look, he has those shoes. He's ready to go. He has the pretty shoes. He is absolutely ready to hit the road and start advancing and moving. But he's just a baby. He probably doesn't even know yet how to walk. So it is about taking time. And here he's in peaceful sleep. Yes, you're ready. Yes, you're fully equipped. You have the shoes. You're ready to hit the road. You're ready to embark on a new fool's journey. Fool is our card number 0, yes? So this cycle is renewed. We start again from point number 0. And this baby is so very ready to go, but at the same time, he's peacefully asleep. He knows that before he can start walking, he needs to grow. He needs still to grow to get some qualities before he can start advancing, like, you know. And here there is this deep sense of tranquility, of peace. Again, there is an invisible but ever-present figure of the mother, the Cancerian figure of mother of the baby, who actually, before this card, obviously wrapped the baby in this warm, lovely blanket, gave him lovely shoes so that his feet will not get cold, you know. And I suppose like what this looks like as if he's inside of a cradle, yes. So he's sheltered, he's fully protected by the bearers of the cradle. And he has also here, you can see he has the plant, he has a grain, obviously, because it's pentacles. Yeah, pentacles are all about material growth, about earth, about earthly symbols, about Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo energies. And of course, page of Pentacles is a Capricorn, so we are reminded that the moon actually sparks the axis. Sun and moon, sun is now in Capricorn, so this of course a very Capricornian energy. But another thing is that Capricorn now is peacefully asleep. After Capricorn was a troublemaker for 3 years with the stellium of absolutely everything you can think of in Capricorn, and all Capricorns were just like, you know, in the deepest abysses of hell with this. But same as everybody else, because Capricorn, we all have Capricorn now charts, like, you know, so it is your house, it is one of your houses in which the troublemaking was happening. Now Capricorn is peacefully asleep from this life-changing stellium. The only planet which is left in Capricorn is Pluto. And Pluto is the most outer planet. It's a slow planet. It is a hard planet. It's about working with trauma and healing our wounds, but it is a slow planet. It gives us time. And Capricorn is now peacefully asleep. All Capricorns have breathed out. There is nothing interesting happening in Capricorn anymore. All the heavy energies have shifted from Capricorn. And Aquarius, the host of Jupiter and Saturn for the 2021, it's a totally different story, you know. It's a totally different story how it's gonna be happening there. But the Capricorn is done with the karmic cycle that it was hosting for a while, especially in 2019 when South Node was there at the beginning of 2020 as well. Capricorn is resting, and that's the advice we should get. We all just went through this massive transition of energies. We all went through the Capricorn stellium. Now the energies have lightened up. The planets have dispersed. They're no longer forming the stellium. There is no longer this kind of concentration of heavy energy of transits. Capricorn has been liberated of its burden. Capricorn is now like a baby who's peacefully asleep in a warm blanket, and that's what we all can do. We should give ourselves a chance to rest and to recalibrate after we all went through this massive, difficult transformation when the Saturn was at the last degrees of Capricorn, when it was like the final strike of Saturn in Capricorn. And then it all moved out, and now the Jupiter and Saturn there again, after they were conjunct, they're now dispersed in Aquarius, so it is easy. It is easy. There is less heavy energy, less heavy planetary transits, and this card is about resting in full assurance that the new beginning is on the way, and we are definitely starting a new journey, but only when we're ready, after we had our baby sleep, beauty sleep, and after we grow up a little bit, and we can start our journey then. And the next card, I'm amazed. You see, even in the deck that we're using, Mariel Tarot, all the cards, pretty much so many cards that we got, 3 out of 6, they have children. Because Page of Swords, well, she is kind of here like a more grown-up woman, but the energy of Pages is like the energy of childhood. And then we got Page of Discs, who's literally a baby. And then we got 8 of Cups, who's a little girl. And you see how it came in the reading. The Strength card, like, okay, let's show. Pages are one under another. And the strength is an 8 of cups are one under another. And you see what is happening? From the lion, which was tamed and harmonized the first picture, the little girl actually got a cloak. It's unreal how cards are working together and speaking to each other. It's simply unreal. So 8 of cups, traditionally the meaning of this card, the traditional way how this card is depicted is that there are 8 empty cups at the forefront, and then there is a hooded figure. His back is turned to us, to face us, and he's leaving those cups and he's moving away from them, and he's about to start his journey up the mountain. It is a card of letting go. It is a card of moving on. It is a card of being thankful for all those 8 of cups, all these lots of emotions that you had at the past, but you have drunk from all those cups and you leave them peacefully and you turn your back to it and you keep walking with no regret, in full readiness. This card is about a little bit different. The meaning is still the same. 8 of cups is about release. It's about thinking of those cups, those emotions, those experiences that you had, releasing them, being grateful for them. You no longer need them. You discard those empty cups. There are full cups somewhere in the future, somewhere waiting for you. You need to start moving towards them. And this girl, she starts moving towards something new. She starts growing by being fully protected with the strengths from this card, from the lion's hide from this card. So it is a little bit about Hercules, who killed this lion, you know, the Nemean lion. So he killed this very how to say, like infernal, like from, I'm trying to, like hellish, I'll use this word, this kind of really demonic animal. And he took his hide, because the hide of the Nemean lion, it was prone to any weapon, you know. So, and he put on himself, and that's how he was invincible. And that's what this girl is doing. So she has tamed all her desires, all her dark sides, and she made actually use of them from everything that the lion symbolizes. And for me, for this reading, as I talked a bit more when I was doing the strengths card, the lion is Lilith, this dark moon. So all our dark female things, like, you know, the dark female archetype. And she made good use of them. She made a cloak out of this lion, and this is a protective cloak. So this is about taking our darkest inferior emotions and making them serve us, making them healthy, making them help us to build healthy boundaries, you know. This girl, she also has a lovely tattoo here. She has a star, a guiding star. And this reminds us not only of Kesenya's channel, which is a guiding star astrology, but also of the star major arcana in tarot, which is about like Aquarius. Actually, it's an Aquarian card. It is a card of soulmate, angelic energy. That's the sigil on her wrist. That's her destiny. That's where she will move, but she's moving fully protected. So 8 of Cups, we release, we take what we need from the emotions that we had. We make it serve for the best of us. We make a protective cloak from everything that we learned, from all the losses, from all the hard moments of 2020. We learn our lesson and we make a protective cloak out of all those darker and more like, you know, challenging events. And we make them serve them. And by this, we're transforming darkness into light, you know. And this little girl, again, like, you know, it is again about feeling yourself as a child, like, you know, maybe actually taking this inner child out of whatever dark corner of the soul he's hiding at the moment, and bringing him forward and assuring him that this child is fully protected, and that after releasing everything, it is time to start something new. And this something new comes in the 3 of Wands. This card in this deck is so powerful. It is saturated with red, with the color of blood, of fire, of new life, you know, with all those things. Usually what this card has is just there is a man and there are 3 wands which started blossoming around him, which already shooting the new life with green leaves, you know. But this one is like, you know, it's much more condensated, I don't know, saturated card, because it is about Once is about fire, yeah, it's about creativity, fire signs. 3, it's one of the initial stages. Yeah, I keep repeating myself. Ace is the spark of life. 2 is the stage of planning. 3 is the first step in which you can see the result. So we are at the very initial stages, very, very first steps of our new road. But that's a promise. That's a promise. Is the last card of our reading. That's where we are going. We have a promise. We have where to move. Like, you know, the seeds of the new life are starting to grow and to appearing above the earth level, the ground level, slowly, slowly but surely, you know. And we can see a little bit of greenery here. Here are the wands, and they start already being green. Where's there a snake? The snake in this card, it is about Kundalini energy, you know. It is like from yogic beliefs that our life force, our prana, it has shape of a coiled snake. That's what Kundalini means. And it sleeps coiled at the bottom of our spine. And when we start, like, you know, doing certain practices like yoga, like pranayama and so on, Kundalini is awakened, and it is kind of like piercing all our spine from all our chakras. So from the root chakra up to the top chakra. It is also like related to this reading. It is also like reminding us of this lightening of Uranus, you know. And the eye, it is obviously the third eye. It is the third eye, which is being awakened, which is like, you know, it is a great awakening. It is like, you know, this moon, it is extremely spiritual, extremely intuitive, you know, very emotional. It is moon in Cancer after all, like, you know. And we are about to start seeing the eye, the result of us choosing a new path, choosing a new way of doing things. Lots of new beginnings, lots of youthful, childlike energy, lots of promises. At the same time, lots of release with the energies moving from Capricorn. Cycle is continuing, keeps this Kundalini snake keeps unfolding. And beautiful. 8 of Cups, we release. 3 of Wands, after we release, we turn our attention, our focus to something else, and we can see the beautiful, small, yet very, very small shoots, sprouts, little trees, little plants of new life emerging from the darkness of the soil. So I hope you liked the reading. I think it was such a beautiful reading and absolutely enough for all of us, because that's the general energy for the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. I'll see you to celebrate the new moon in Capricorn in January. And before that, look, take good care of yourself. Have a beautiful New Year's celebration. And I wish all of you lots of blessings and lots of good things for 2021. And whatever is in store for us, we'll go through it together. So we are never alone. We are all together here as a community, and we're all going through the same stages, which is exciting. We are about to start a new adventure. We are now the Fool again, starting from point zero, the Fool's journey. Love you all so, so very much. It was a wonderful, wonderful half a year with all of you, and not even half a year, but we went through lots of moon together. And here is 2 more moons together in 2021. Bye.